Hello everybody, my name is Marcell, and this is my Jurassic World Rebirth presentation. Now, to those who do not know, this is the seventh film in the Jurassic Park franchise. I know seven might seem like a scary number for most movies that have been going on this long, like Fast and Furious 10 or something like that, and it might lose its luster, its prestige, but for some reason, it doesn't feel like that with me for Jurassic Park. Now, if they probably called this Jurassic Park 7, I might feel a bit of ways for it, but because it's Jurassic World Rebirth, where it's in this realm of a soft reboot, maybe a potentially new direction, or maybe just an epilogue to the Jurassic World trilogy, I am totally fine with it being called Jurassic World Rebirth. Now, as you can see here, we've got a few notes in a old presentation style that I want to go through. I want to talk about things that I liked, things that I would have liked to see, and, you know, just some what ifs and fun theories after coming out of the theater the first time, second time, and third time, because I did see this movie 3 times. Okay, so starting off with this, we have it being directed by Gareth Edwards. Okay, to those who do not know, Gareth Edwards is pretty good when it comes to VFX and special effects, really making the monsters feel like they come to life and are really on the screen, feeling lived in the world that they are being surrounded by on screen. This movie was released July 2nd, so it's been 11 days after the release of Jurassic World Rebirth. This is the 13th of July that I'm doing this episode on. So if you haven't seen the movie yet, I would recommend that you see the movie, because, you know, I'm going to probably get into some spoiler territories and maybe even a little bit of what if and fan theories that might breach into that spoiler territory. So again, if you don't want to be spoiled, then this is where we part ways, but I'll see you in another video, perhaps. All right. Now, the critic score says it was a 52, and the audience says it was a 71. Now, even though this isn't the be-all, end-all, it is just a small barometer to gauge where we're at and how some people feel about this movie. Me, on the other hand, because this is my show, this is my video, and this is my impressions of the movie, you can tell that by my voice alone, I really enjoyed this movie. Okay, I seen it 3 times, as I said earlier. Went by myself the first time because best way to do it in a distraction-free environment. The second time was with my friend and his mom and his friend. Even better experience for me. And in my third time, it was with my girlfriend, and I actually saw it in IMAX, and it was actually a pretty good experience in IMAX. I wish I watched it in IMAX the first time, and if I could see it again, I'd like to see it in 4D. All right, but that's okay. It sits in my heart, and I know that I enjoyed my 3 viewings of it. So I would say my first impressions of the movie were very positive. When I saw it the first time, I did come out of it feeling like it was a 10 out of 10. Just because there were so many questions, good questions, that I had about the franchise and where it was going and where it could possibly lead. If this was to be a new trilogy, but if it was just as an epilogue to the Jurassic World trilogy, that was actually pretty cool too. But upon seeing it again the second and the third time, I did bump it down to a 9 out of 10 because there were some things that I wanted to see. Now that's going to lead me into the setup. The setup of this movie really had me hooked. There was just something about the opening vibe of this movie where I was just like, man, this feels dark, this feels mysterious, it feels familiar, but it's new. And speaking of new, we are in the Neo-Jurassic world. I just love the way that that sounds, the Neo-Jurassic world. We started from Jurassic Park in 1993, and here we are now in 2027, I believe this movie takes place in. So we have come a long way, and now we've come so far that people are feeling disinterested in dinosaurs and like just inconvenienced by them altogether. Like the majesty and wonder of these, I'm gonna call them animals because I've read both of the books and seen 6 movies and have about 20 years of passive, just, you know, Jurassic Park material here and there. So I never see these as dinosaurs. I will always see these as, you know, engineered monsters with dinosaur skin. But the fact that people are no longer intrigued and just bewildered by these animals, at least the majority of the public, is really an interesting place for this movie to start, kind of like what Jurassic World 1 did. And I really like what they did with that as a way to like bring the meta narrative of what we think about a dinosaur theme park and bring it into their world, and now Jurassic World Rebirth is kind of doing the same thing again, except, you know, the events of 2015 and 2022 really just shook up the foundation about how these animals are viewed and what the world is going to do with these animals now that they live here, but are now just dying off, right? Because they can't handle this ecosystem. Speaking of ecosystems, InGen, gone. Masrani Global, gone. Biosyn, gone. These were all the three heavy hitters of the cloning and engineering world when it comes to scientific development, but through bankruptcy or corrupt activities or both, they're no longer players in this game. And with that comes new challengers. Now, I did notice that Parker-Genix is another pharmaceutical company, kind of like InGen, Maserati Global, and Biosyn. I did want to include Manticore in this, but I did not watch Camp Cretaceous, so I don't know much about them. Other than they most likely illegally cloned dinosaurs or took dinosaurs from off of the main islands and did their own little testings with them and made them complete monstrosities. I'm looking at you, Scorpius Rex, because your picture is everywhere on the internet and I cannot escape it. And of course, Chaos Theory surviving. Okay, if Jurassic World or the franchise overall is anything, it is always true to the idea of chaos theory, that no matter how complex and simple the system is, there will always be something to just tear it all up. All right. I've seen people joke about that it's kind of like Final Destination, but, you know, to a sense that it is. I think the rules for Final Destination are a bit more fast and loose about, you know, who gets picked off by death first and last and in between. But Jurassic Park, it's enough of a narrative where you're like, okay, I can follow along, but it doesn't get too crazy. And if something crazy does happen, like a Snickers bar getting caught in a door's ventilation shaft, then hey, that's chaos theory. So moving on, I loved how inspired this felt. When I was watching this movie, it really reminded me of things like Walking with Dinosaurs, King Kong, Skull Island, Jurassic World Dominion, and the Lost World novel. And I'll get into the music in a little bit. Now, to go through each one in a way, and not to take too much time with each one, but the Walking with Dinosaurs element comes from that. Like, I like that there was a good balance of the dinosaurs and the characters. And I was interested with these characters, but I'll talk about them a little bit later. I really enjoyed this Walking with Dinosaurs aspect because a lot of it just felt like you could see these dinosaurs in their own environment and they were unbothered until the humans came along. And I think that's a good place to start. It had this pace to it where I didn't feel like I was just kind of like, okay, when are the dinosaurs going to get here? Okay. It just felt like it was taking its time and it wasn't trying to rush into the dinosaur action, and it was trying to make its setup feel substantial. And I like that. Going to the King Kong and Kong Skull Island references, I think that what makes, for me, King Kong movies work is Skull Island. Skull Island is going to be just as terrifying as Kong and vice versa. But in order for Kong to work, you really got to sell the idea that he is living on this part of a rock that is just uncharted territory. And something that I think that makes Kong work is that he is living on this island that is just filled with the most unthinkable creations known to man. And I felt like they did that here in Jurassic World Rebirth. Even though we're all familiar with the dinosaurs, it's just that idea of being in their territory now. And one thing that has always made me like Jurassic Park, just as a franchise, is how quickly the situation can turn. It's kind of like being in a zoo where, you know, you see the animals in their enclosure and you're thinking, oh, this is nice. The animals are playing or they're eating or, you know, they're being petted. And then all of a sudden you hear screams that there's a gorilla holding a kid by the ankle. And now everything is flipped and you're wondering when SOS is going to arrive. You know, it's a very scary feeling, and how quickly things start off fine and then just hit the fan real quick in Jurassic Park. You're just left with that feeling of, oh my gosh, what happened? Someone just died. We don't know when help is going to arrive. And I felt like Rebirth did that really well. It was a bit of a slow burn, but once it hit, it really hit for me. Jurassic World Dominion, I'm only going to bring this up because it makes it evident of why the setting is the way that it is. The dinosaurs finally dying out in this new ecosystem that they cannot adapt to kind of reminded me of the books, where the dinosaurs always felt like they were out of breath because they just cannot exist off of the oxygen that's now in our environment. versus us being in their environment and having a hard time breathing in their oxygen, because obviously carbon levels were much higher back in the Mesozoic era. But the fact that it's now flipped between dinosaurs and humans environment, I find that very interesting. And it's them taking little elements of the book and not calling too much attention to it, but just saying, like, you know, hey, to people who like know, that one's for you. Or at least that's what I think. I could be wrong in that theory. And also, I know people didn't like the locusts, but like, let's be real. There weren't just dinosaurs in those time periods. There were also insects. To what sizes, I don't know. If it was anything bigger than Australia, then I would be very terrified. But I do remember going back to Walking with Dinosaurs. There was a segment of the Muttaburasauruses, I believe, where they talked about how like insects would just chill out in their nostrils and their ear canals and just be sucking it up. So like insects kind of make sense for where Dominion went, but I guess like if you're watching it from Fallen Kingdom to then Dominion, it might take a hard left, but it's like not really that bad, you know. And this is coming from someone who did not like Dominion and then saw the extended cut the way it was meant to be seen and actually be like, you know what, this actually makes sense. Okay, so the locusts weren't bad. They just kind of came out of nowhere. But I understand it. That's all I'm going to say for Jurassic World Dominion. However you feel about it, how you feel about it. All right. And then obviously the Lost World novel, it just... it got a lot of things right when it came to like referencing the books. I know a lot of people right now are talking about the raft scene because like you can't escape people talking about the raft scene. But one thing that I really liked, and as you can see from the poster, or in this case the VHS cover of Jurassic Park, is the top half of it with the sunlight and the trees being silhouetted. There was a scene in Rebirth where it felt like it was straight out of this book's vibe. This cover's vibe, and the back of the cover as well. It was this orange sunset, vegetation, shadowed in darkness because of the sunset, and it's this family going through the boat ride after they just got away from the T-Rex in the raft scene. And the music that played, oh my goodness, it was my most favorite scene in the movie. It's so short, it's so brief, but the music played in that with the imagery provided, it literally reminded me of the work from Jurassic Park 3's The Raptor Room. And even though John Williams didn't do the score for JP3, I believe it was Don Davis, or I think it was Don Davis who was led on by John Williams, who recommended him, basically. And in this movie, it's done by I believe it's Alexandre Desplat. I don't think I wrote it down, but I did see it in the credits. I remember seeing a Desplat. But the point is, I think Desplat invoked the inner John Williams and then kind of infused it with his own sense of like orchestral, like just because there's certain themes in this movie where like you're hearing the Jurassic Park theme, but then there's like this and I'm like, oh, I like that. Like it just has like this angelic melody to it, but like the fact that it's Jurassic Park, where, you know, surface level, they're dinosaurs, right? But to people who know, these aren't dinosaurs. These are literal freaks of nature, an abomination and affront to God. But the fact that they can just contrast that with like this eerie yet beautiful music, it just makes me think of like, man, this is a place that was once occupied by man that has now been lost to time, taken back by nature, and is just overgrown with vegetation, and it's desolate, and the only thing that lives here are these monstrosities, and it's beautiful. I'm gonna see if I can play songs from both JP3, The Raptor Room, and this one here from Jurassic World. I do have to find it. Hopefully I can find it. Hopefully I won't get copy struck for it. But like, those were like two beautiful songs, and when I heard it in this, it made me think of JP3, and I think that is a great place to be at. Okay. Now, that then leads me into more things that I like. The characters. New faces, same old problems. We got Zora, we got Duncan, we got Dr. Henry Loomis, and we got the Delgado family. Now, I know that there's some people who are going to be like, the characters suck because, like, meh. But, like, hear me out, though. I think with where the Jurassic World trilogy left us and where Rebirth puts us, it's not that bad. Okay? Their motivation seemed strong enough. I really liked Duncan's. Duncan's definitely felt like he was focused in his performance. Every time he mentioned the kids, I just felt it. I'm like, man, it sucks that he lost his son and then he lost his wife through the divorce because of that. You know, that's tough. That's really tough. That's, you know, people are always like, oh, I want dark and mature. That's dark, okay? Zora wanting money because she's a mercenary on the go. It's a be at best. And Henry being out of a job because, like, you know, people don't care about dinosaurs in real life and you don't care about them in the museums. I get it. He's being burned on both ends, you know? And even though he was supposed to just be, I believe, an advisor and then being roped into the project, he's probably out of his element in that regard. But, like, I think all three of their subconscious motivations to why they go to this place is justified. I get it. And I don't know how people will feel about the Delgado family, but I didn't mind it. I thought at first I thought they were going to the island just because, and I was kind of thinking of like, oh, is it like the parasailing incident in JP3 where it's like, oh, we're just gonna like do a little vacation spot near the 5 deaths because like exciting. And it's like, no, don't do that. But this, I get it. They were going from Barbados to the Cape because they do it like every summer. And I thought of it kind of like a last hurrah before, you know, his daughter goes to NYU. You know, it wasn't the biggest plot point, but she did mention it, and I always try to think about it in terms of like dialogue as action, action as dialogue. So the fact that she brought it up, I was like, okay, so they're probably doing this because she's going away, then it's just going to be him and then his little daughter Isabella, and then that's the family, you know? And I don't know how my parents felt when, like, you know, my big brother went to college, when my big sister went to college, when I went to college. So, like, who knows? You know, maybe I'll have to take them for a 4th time to see what they think about that. And I'm going to do it in 4D this time. But overall, these set of characters that we're given with, I love. I do have some more to say about the main villain, Martin Krebs, and all this, but I kind of have him in, like, what if territory because I felt like he was a bit undercooked, and he was a fine standard villain, but I think he needed a bit more, but that's going to go into some crazy territory. So here's what I was thinking of the characters and just kind of deepening those motivations as to why they are the way that they are. So now this is not really so much spoiler territory, but it's getting into like things I would have liked to see. And that is going to start us with Zora and Duncan. Let's start with Zora. In the movie, she says that she loses her friend to a car bomb in Yemen. Okay. I believe the name was Booker, as stated by Duncan. And while I'm totally okay with this, I think that's fine. But what if what I would have liked to see, the dinosaurs being more intrinsic to the characters' internal struggles? So in this what if that I have stated here that I kind of came up with my own and I'm kind of proud of, I should trademark it, but whatever. I said, but what if during the standard operating procedure in Yemen, a dinosaur native to this area or Asia was seen there protecting their nest and hunting, and then the group attacked, right? That's seems normal, right? Dinosaurs are still in their world. It's like any other thing until it actually happens to you, okay? We're all fine with squirrels being out in the common area, but if you see a squirrel in your home, yeah, that's cause to freak out. You know what I'm saying? So everyone just starts going bananas. Bullets are flying, gunfire's going galore. Zora's friend runs to the Jeep to radio assistance, but a panicked recruit throws a grenade to which the dinosaur's large body, okay, naturally deflects it, goes near the car, and blows it up, thus killing Zora's friend. Now you get into this conversation of Zora is angry, heartbroken, devastated, justifiably so, but whose fault is that? Is it the soldier's fault? Is it the dinosaur's fault? Does that make her have this long roundabout way of hating dinosaurs? You know what I'm saying? It could be possible if the mental gymnastics allow it to be, okay? But just something to think about. What we had with her was fine, but I would have liked a bit more of the dinosaurs being involved into each of these characters as to why they acted the way that they did. Not just for money, because we've already had a few characters that did that, and this is our 7th film. So let's try to do something a bit more nuanced, okay? Moving on to Duncan. Duncan lost his wife and his son. Just, oof. Like, I can't imagine. And again, the way Ali's performance is in this, after seeing it a second and third time, it started to grow on me. It's just kind of like, man, it feels grounded. It feels like he actually lived through that. And again, that's the power of actors, right? Convincing you that they lived a life that has not been. I really liked where it went. But what if a dinosaur caused this and his family just being in the wrong place in the wrong time is what caused Duncan to be on the path that he is on? This would probably explain why he is loyal to Isabella and Teresa to a certain extent, because again, his performance of when talking about the kids really just felt like it came out at me. Like, my dad, I'd be like, yeah, that's something my dad would say. That sounds like my dad would say something like that. Because when you get a protective dad, you have a protective dad, all right? You just know. If anyone knows what I'm talking about, let me know now, okay? And I think that this would have been really cool for him. Again, tying the dinosaurs into the characters' motivations and acting the way that they do. Which kind of leads me into something that was a little bit underbaked, but a fun theory nonetheless. Check this out. More things that I would have liked to see. More emphasis on why Parker-Genix is even here. How did they come to be, right? I'm sure that there is some out of movie lore reasons as to why they are in the picture, but I try not to get too nitty gritty into like these little online skits and lores here and there, because like, again, if I'm not looking for it, I won't find it. And that's where Parker-Genix leaves me. They're another pharmaceutical company that enters the fray, but obviously, what is the play, right? We've had InGen, we've had Masrani, and we've had Biosyn, and all three have gone kaput in some form or fashion, okay? What makes Parker-Genix different? That's what I would have liked to know. They're another pharmaceutical company that studies in clone engineering, but they want to do the whole front of, well, we're just putting it towards medicine, which is fine, but we've already had 3 companies, technically 4 if you count Manacorp, that have kind of tried this same shtick, and people fall for it every single time, right? What can be done with Parker-Genix and the people that work under it that make this company feel like they could be an actual viable threat in the Neo-Jurassic world? So we have Martin Krebs, who originally needs DNA samples for the company research. Now in this, they did say that they wanted to put it towards a heart disease. And while I think that's fine, I feel like they were retreading the same ground with Biosyn and Jurassic World Dominion, where they just wanted to apply it to all types of science and medicine ingenuity. And again, that's fine. But since we've already went through that narrative route, what if they did something a little different? Now, this one's a bit meaty, so I'm just going to read it from top to bottom because I also came up with this and I should trademark it. But it is what it is. So check it. In the original part of the movie, Martin Krebs is just your standard, typical, I feel I got a lot of money, I need to get this medicine, I need to take it back to my job. Point blank, plain and simple. Even Xavier, who was a part of the Delgado family, called him out like 30 minutes into the movie. That guy's creepy, right? We all know. But what if, on the expedition during the Mosasaurus, Titanosaur, and Quetzalcoatlus events, in separate instances, Martin is seen getting a bit more heavy with breath, labored breathing, sweating profusely. Like, you can tell that after each encounter, he's getting more and more worse for wear. And that would lead you to think, what's wrong with this guy? Maybe he's terminally ill, and that's why he needs the medicine from these dinosaurs. Sure, the company of Parker-Genix is a front for him, but he really wants that medicine for himself. The same way Nedry tried to sabotage the park and run off with, vile specimens because he felt like he was being underpaid, underworked, and underappreciated, I feel like Parker could have done the same thing too if they wanted to call back to, old Jurassic Park roots with Nedry and whatnot. But, continuing on, him being secretly terminally ill and with the heat on him from Zora after asking him, hey, did you save that girl that almost fell off the boat from the Mosasaurus interaction? And he full-blown lied about it because we saw it, but they didn't see it, right? So he's kind of on a ticking time bomb, and I can feel the pressure in saying you did something and knowing that there's a chance that it might come to light down the road if the right conditions are met. I used to be a little liar back in the day when I was a kid. I stopped doing it, thankfully. But like, I got where that instance of like that gut feeling of like, oh dang, I might get caught for this, right? So I could feel him growing desperate. And after him finding that gun, who knows what he could do, right? He could double cross all of them and leave no survivors. I also did think that because Zora, Duncan, and Bobby Atwater, who didn't live for long, but because 3 of them did try to shake him down, I could see how he wouldn't want to stand for, you know, Henry's plan of open sourcing it. Because, like, think about it. If you're Parker-Genix and you send Martin to go do this job, and then Martin is tasked to deal with 3 people who all try to give you the same story of, hey, I can't do it unless you give me more money. It's like, hey, listen, I'm already giving you the opportunity of a lifetime. Don't shake me down. Don't try to give me the runaround, right? So I could feel how little instances like this could motivate that darker side of him, and him already being sick makes him feel like he's on a ticking time bomb. You get what I'm saying? I feel like that could have been more. But there's more. What if, and this is going to sound really silly, but you guys must be familiar with Chaos Effect, right? If you don't know what Chaos Effect is, this is basically like some old toy line from Jurassic Park where they fused dinosaurs. And it was like, I don't know, it's been so long since I've heard about it. Like Ultimasaurus, where it's like a T-Rex and a Triceratops and a Ankylosaurus, or a raptor with all these different dinosaurs fused into it. Like, it's basically what the Indominus Rex was, but like from 20 years ago. Like, before it was actually put in a film, it was a toy line. And there were some talks about, I want to say, the 4th Jurassic Park film, human dinosaur hybrids. I don't know how that would have worked. I don't know if I would have liked that, given what we have with Jurassic World, the trilogy, and Rebirth. But if they started breaching into that idea with this what if scenario, and Creeves getting desperate and being terminally ill and double crossing everyone and leaving no survivors, but somehow getting cornered by the Mutadons, he then has no choice but to take those vials, inject them into himself, and because the medicine and the blood samples aren't properly synthesized at Parker-Genix, he then becomes the D.Rex. Pink fiction. Now, I know this takes away from the wonderful opening scene of the D.Rex at the start of the film, but I have good mixed feelings about the D.Rex. Let me start off with the good. I like that it had the amount of screen time that it did. I like that instead of it being the Distortus Rex, I call it in my mind the Docile Rex, because it literally didn't do much, you know? Who knows if it even ate that guy? It probably did. But like, come on. By the time they get back there at the end of the movie, that thing is still in its enclosure. It hasn't left. It hasn't ventured out too far from what we can tell. It seems like it's just been chilling there, because what else was it supposed to do? It's too ugly to go anywhere else. Ugly in a good way. But it's probably in pain. It's probably just like, you know what? I belong over here. I ain't gonna bother no one. Unless you shine a light in my way, then I'm gonna really mess you up. You know, but other than that, I really like what they did with it. It didn't really seem like a bad start of genetic engineering pushed too far. And who knows, maybe this thing was made with some human DNA, and that's why it turned out the way that it did. For me, when I look at it, at least with this image here, I see a Brachiosaurus. I obviously see the T-Rex. I think of that dolphin. I don't remember the name of the dolphin, but like,
stupid.
I think of the dolphin, and part of me thinks that, like, man, is that skin? Is that flesh? Or is it a hard bone density matter? You know? Because I think that with this creation, they're getting into uncharted territory of what could potentially be the Chaos Effect, but they haven't outright said it. And there were certain instances towards the end of the movie where Duncan is distracting this creature, and it's going after it through the shrubbery and the waterway, but it's all dark and it's just illuminated by the moonlight and the flare. And there's just something about the way it was walking up on Duncan where I was just like, man, that's scary. That is terrifying. And then there's another scene where the heroes escape just as the claw is coming down. And he stands up. And you can tell by the way it stands, it just looks too human. And I'm saying that in the best way possible because it's scary. And it's like, if Jurassic Park, Jurassic World go this way, can you ever come back from it? How could you come back from it, you know? I know they always talk about dinosaurs in the military being a silly plot and you could just napalm the dinosaurs, but like, actually think about it. The Indoraptor, a literal killing machine, just gunning after you, you know? I like that the D.Rex is a complete crash out like the Indominus Rex, but look at its size. Come on. You know what I'm saying? Like, this thing is a freak of nature, and who knows what this thing could be capable of given more time. I like it. And that's why, for me, I really liked Jurassic World Rebirth. I like what they set up. I like where it could potentially go. I like the characters that we were given. Maybe in the future, we'll still follow these 3 characters and maybe even the Delgado family, or get some mentions with them in between, kind of like with Lex and Tim, Zach and Mitchell, Zach and Gray, I believe they were called. I forget. They had very generic names, I'll be honest. Or maybe we'll even get Owen and Claire and the other gangs from the Jurassic World trilogy coming back to maybe assist the characters in this again. All speculation, but tons of fun theories. I loved what this movie did for me in terms of just keeping the imagination open to where this franchise could potentially go. To me, Jurassic Park has always been a cautionary tale about the hubris of man and just how far you can go, but should you go? As Jeff Goldblum said that we all love to quote, just because you can doesn't mean you should. And that's why I think on my 3 viewings, Jurassic World Rebirth was a smash hit for me. Guys, thank you so much for watching. If you like Jurassic World, or if you don't like Jurassic World, or if you don't like Jurassic Park in general, that's kind of crazy. But tell me how you feel about it down below if you're so inclined. And maybe I will see you in another video about dinosaurs. Everybody take a deep breath. Stay with me. Stay happy, stay healthy. Please don't do anything I wouldn't do, except go see Jurassic World in 4D if you can, and let me know how it was. And I will see you in the next video. I've been Marcel. You have been amazing. Take care. Good day. And God bless. What would have also been amazing, though, is if the family was able to escape, and after the dad was able to procure the boat, because let's be real, he was a boat master, Xavier just puts his hand on the dad and says,
"Hey, I'll take the wheel."